Hi folks, Sean McCormick here from Lightroom blog, and we're going to look at doing some fixes to this image here. It's just an image of the National Museum in Edinburgh that I shot quite a while ago. I've just come across some of these images and I've done nothing with them, so I figured it'd be good to use them in tutorials. So there's a few things going on with this image. The sky is kind of nice enough, but we've got lots of darker shadows here. We've got a little bit of blown out light here. Or if it's not completely blown out, it's very, very close. There's an angle on the hill and there's lots of spots in the skies. So we're going to fix those. It's not going to be a very long fix. I'm going to start off and do what I normally do very quickly, which is start off by pulling back highlights, which is going to bring back the lights in the front, which makes them look much better. I'm going to open up the shadows as well, just to kind of lighten in along here. Now if you're going for more HDR look, you could literally bring these the whole way out and get that kind of more HDR look, but I don't want that for this particular image, so it's slightly less. Not as full on, right? The blacks I'm going to pull back. I've just looked at the histogram and see that we're just kind of touching the toe. Doesn't matter if some of the shadows are clipping, it's a dark image, so I'm just going to darken that, and then I'm going to use the whites. And the whites will have the benefit of actually lightening and expanding the dynamic range without me even going near the exposure. Could bring up the exposure as well, but again, pushing blacks and whites like this will also increase the apparent contrast of the image. Add a little bit of clarity because I do that with landscape images, and then a little bit of vibrance as well to bring in more colour. Okay, so that's good. So the next thing we're going to do, which can slow down some of the following procedures, is I'm going to add lens correction. Sometimes if you're spotting after lens correction, they can slow down. So I'm just going to turn them on anyway. Now this image is actually shot on a hill, so we have a slope here. So you might think that I need to fix this, but what will happen is this will end up rotating and looking really, really funny. So it's actually on a hill, so these verticals are fine. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and crop. So I think that I need to put in, there's just too much open space here. So I'm going to bring this more like this, so have the rails along the bottom third. Okay, that's fine. It's only a tiny little thing. I'm just going to look along here, and that seems to be okay. Seems to be happy enough with that. So press enter to accept that. The next thing I'm going to do is get rid of the spots in the sky and a few other little bits and pieces. So I'm going to click the spotting tool with shortcuts, or for crop, and Q is for the spot removal tool if you're going with that. Very quickly as well, there's now this feather option that you have as well, and if we look at the actual spot, if we hold a shift key and we start moving, you can see the inside is moving, it's creating the feather around the spot. And what the feather effectively does is, if we just roll along here with our advanced healing tool, we can see that it's kind of a little bit see-through. Okay, that's because of the feather. If we pull it back off, it becomes a little bit harder, so it allows you to balance what's going on with the spot. Now that was only just to show you that I'm not actually getting rid of the flag. So if you hold down the Alt or Option key, that lets you get rid of a spot. You can also use the delete key just to delete it as well. What I'm going to show you is, I'm going to show you a little trick that's down the bottom here, is the visualize spots, which lets you see the spots better. But as you can see here, it says it's got a shortcut for A, so we're going to actually use the A shortcut, because then it's easier to turn on and off than having to go and look for the toolbar. So I'm just literally going to click on these. Now because I'm using the pen, sometimes it won't be the normal spot that we're used to from previous versions of Lightroom. It'll be the new advanced healing. Sometimes it just drags slightly, so I'm going to press the H key to show where the spots are, and we see it there, and I think that's after copying a spot where there shouldn't have been a spot, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And again, that one as well, pressing backspace. It's copied a spot from somewhere that shouldn't be, basically, so I'm just getting rid of it. There we go, that's gone now. Show these ones as well. Yeah, that's after doing the same copy. That does that sometimes. Now there were things that I had showed in the past where if you held down the command, it would do it. Command key would do stuff, but now if you hold down the command key, it lets you select a source point with the normal spot, and if you hold the shift and command, or shift and control, it lets you drag the size, just so you know that it does that as well. So this is a spot here. I know there's another spot in there as well, so I may need to look at that zoomed in. So I'm going to press the A key just to have a look at it normal for a second. No, I've cropped out the other spot. I think that's one there as well. Sometimes because if they're very close, it's hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few other things as well here. I'm going to use the square bracket keys to increase the size of the spot, and that's just to try and hide some of that flare. Again, H to make sure that it looks okay. And now we've got another little bit of flare that's on an edge. Now healing across edges is normally a problem, so I'm just going to heal that there, and what I'm going to do is press H, and then I'm going to drag it down a little bit. And try and make it line up. Okay, press H to hide it again, so that's lined up. And so you can see it's pretty clean, so the advanced healing is quite good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly draw along this sign, because it's not as organic as the other signs that are there, and it's reflected more. So I'm just going to let that search and find a bit, and it seems to have found a little bit, but it's not quite right. Now I have done this a couple of times where it's actually done it perfectly in practice, so you never know quite what it's going to do. So okay, that's lining up there nicely, and press H to hide that and see what's happening. Okay, I can get away with that, I think. Maybe move it down slightly. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to delete it and do it again. What's happened is that it's too close to the top of the rails, and so I'm going to exclude the top of the rails just to make my life easier. And now it's taken from the sign. What happens is when you redo it, it tries to take it from somewhere else, and obviously I've redone it a couple of times in practice. Okay, hide. Oh, it's after moving on its own as well. That can be the problem sometimes with using a pen. Okay, that seems to blend it. Okay, it's moving again on its own. I can live with that. It doesn't look too unnatural when you just glance at it. Okay, so that's really the stuff that I would do to an image like this. I think that over here, this flaring is too much. I don't think it'll fix properly. I think there's too much going on with the pillars to make it fix properly. Okay, it's not too bad. I'm just going to press the arrow key. The funny thing is you press the arrow key in the opposite direction you think you need to go. So that's actually lined up. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. I didn't think that was going to work, but I think we'll get away with that. So that's a quick look at some of the tools, especially looking at the new spot removal options that there are in Lightroom 5. Thanks for listening. Do feel free to subscribe to the RSS feed, and even have a look at the stuff on the YouTube channel here as well. So this has been Sean McCormick for Lightroom Blog. Thanks a million.